Hi, I'm Dr. Katie, and welcome to Eating Out, part 2 of your Keeping Your Cleanse video mini-series. This video talks all about how to eat out in restaurants. This is something that can be really challenging when you're on a cleanse, and we've got some tips and tricks to make it a lot easier. So the first thing to consider is knowing where to go. Not all restaurants are equally cleanse friendly, and so there's a couple things to consider so that you're picking the right restaurant when it is that you do get to pick, so that you'll have more choices and an easier time eating out. The first thing to consider is the type of cuisine that the restaurant serves. Restaurants that serve rice-based cuisine, Japanese food, Thai food, Indian food, those are going to be a lot more options because there's not a lot of gluten there to start with. Than something like an Italian restaurant where the pizza and pasta is just a gluten and cheese extravaganza. So that's the first thing to consider. The other thing with type of restaurant is whether or not they have a specialty menu. Sometimes restaurants will have allergen menus available at the restaurant or even online. I've seen this at chain restaurants, and even in smaller independent restaurants sometimes have this as well. And this can just really help narrow down your options, even if it's not everything on the cleanse. If you know that they're gluten and dairy free aware, it'll make it a lot easier to start ordering. The other thing to think about is restaurants that are maybe a little bit more health conscious or a little bit more selective in that they're an entirely gluten-free restaurant or they're a vegan restaurant. This type of thing is very helpful and can just give you a lot more options with ordering because you don't have to worry about those specific allergens being there. Once you've picked your restaurant, the next thing is dealing with the menu. And these are good tips whether you got to pick the restaurant or you didn't get to pick the restaurant. And this is knowing where to look. So not all sections of the menu are equally cleanse friendly. There's three main places that I tend to look when I first get a menu to try and find something that's going to meet the sort of dietary restricted diet. The first place is the salads. Usually you can find a salad that you can eliminate one or two toppings, say a cheese and a crouton, and then add in, say, a piece of chicken or a piece of fish, and now you've got yourself a meal. The second place to look is the mains. A lot of main dishes are served with veggies and a starch. You can almost always get the restaurant to serve you a double serving of the vegetables instead of the starch if it's something that doesn't match with your diet. Say like a garlic mashed potato is probably not going to be your best bet. And you can always get more vegetables. And then the third place I like to look is if there's a section called bowls. Yes, there's usually pasta there that you have to skim past, but this is where you can find curries and rice bowls and things that are a little bit more cleanse friendly that way. And I find that that's a really great place to look for things that are in the diet. And then I tend to just avoid sections that say things like sandwich or pasta because I know that those are generally gluten-based and less likely to be able to modify that. The last thing that I'll say about ordering and looking at the menu is don't be afraid to ask for things to be different than they currently are. Restaurants are service industries and they want to take care of you, and the restaurant's going to accommodate you as best they can. So it's totally fine to ask for what you need and see if they can make that for you. The final type of eating out experience I'm going to talk about is the buffet. Everyone tells me how much they hate going to a buffet, and it's very challenging when you are on a food restriction. There's a lot of mystery sauces, there's a lot of chance for cross-contamination, and it's sometimes just hard to know what to get. So one of my first tips for going to a buffet, if you end up at one, is to do a scanning round. So rather than pick up a plate the first time you walk past the buffet, just walk and look and get a feeling for what you can eat and what's going to be a good option. What you want to look for is plain food. Plain is best. The less seasoning, the less sauce, the less stuff on it, the more likely it's not going to upset you. And also just look for things that you would eat at home while you're on the cleanse and make some plans. The second tip that I have for beating the buffet is the salad bar. Salad bar is a great place to go and build yourself up something really yummy, and just know that it's going to be cleanse friendly, and just be a lot more relaxed about it. The third thing that I wanted to talk about the buffet is our sort of tendency to go back through for seconds and thirds. And if this is your social crowd and you know that this is something that you're not really going to be able to avoid, and you're not looking to really eat that much, just grab a smaller size plate. Go over to the salad bar or the dessert section and grab a salad or dessert plate to go through the main buffet line. It'll just cut how much you take each time, and make it a little bit easier to deal with that culture of seconds. And the other thing to think about the rules for beating the buffet is that they also work at potlucks. So you're not required to taste every single dish that everyone brought. I know I used to feel that way about buffets, and I've just got to the point now where I just fill my plate with what I know is going to make me feel good, and not worry about it. There's always leftover salads. There's always leftover vegetables at buffets. You can fill up your plate with as much of that as you want, and no one's going to even notice. Yeah, so that's my buffet tips. I'm hoping that this has been helpful so you can choose your restaurant well, order off the menu with success, and if it is a buffet, that you'll be able to navigate that with a bit more ease after this talk. Our next talk is about giving up the guilt. And if some of the tips that I mentioned in this video or the previous planning video sort of made you feel uncomfortable, like you might not be able to do that, this is a really great video to tune into and see what is